Have you ever walked into a place and felt like time slowed down, like the world outside didn't matter anymore, like you'd accidentally stepped through a doorway into a quieter version of reality where everything was just a little softer, a little slower, a little more human? That's exactly how language learning can feel too, not rushed, not mechanical, but deep and connected and full of atmosphere, like a story you didn't know you needed. One of the best ways to learn English is through stories, because they don't just show you grammar or vocabulary, they help you feel the language, remember the feeling behind the words, and make English something real, not something forced. So if you're learning English and you want to go beyond textbooks and rules, leave a comment and subscribe to RealSpeak, where the English feels like life, not a lesson. It was October in Chicago and Mia had planned nothing, not a single museum, no restaurant lists, not even a proper map, just 5 days alone to walk and think and feel something again after a year that had drained her more than she'd realized, the kind of year that left you quiet inside. She wandered for hours every day, from the lakefront to alleys in Wicker Park, from busy streets full of honking horns and people in suits to quiet corners where trees dropped yellow leaves like slow confetti, and she liked not knowing where she was going. On her third day, the wind picked up and it started to drizzle, not enough to run, just enough to make her pull up her collar and look for shelter, and that's when she saw it, a small building half hidden between a laundromat and an antique store, with a crooked wooden sign that read "Owl and Lantern," in gold letters that had faded with time. The windows were fogged, the paint on the door chipped, and it looked more like a memory than a business, but something about it felt right, so she stepped inside. A bell above the door rang, not loudly, just enough to let the room know she had arrived, and the smell that met her was a mix of cinnamon, dust, and roasted coffee, like someone had baked time into the air. The place was dim but warm, lit by mismatched lamps and strands of orange bulbs looped across the ceiling, and the floor creaked as she walked slowly past worn bookshelves and old couches with quilts thrown across them, like someone's grandmother had decorated a bookstore in 1975 and never left. No one greeted her, not right away, but eventually an older man appeared behind the counter wearing a brown cardigan and the kind of expression that says everything's fine, no rush, no pressure, just be here. She ordered a tea, no menu, just asked if he had something warm, and he nodded, disappeared, then returned with a cup that smelled like ginger and honey and quiet afternoons. She found a seat by the window, watched the drizzle blur the outside world into soft watercolor, and that's when she noticed it, the large clock behind the counter, its hands frozen at 2:47, not ticking, not moving, just waiting. She smiled and asked, "Is your clock broken?" The man, without looking up from the mug he was drying, said, "Not broken. Just slow. We like it that way." She didn't know if he was joking, but the answer made her laugh softly, and she glanced around. No one had a phone out, no one seemed in a hurry, a girl near the back was reading a book upside down, a man was sketching something in a notebook, and someone had left a chess game half finished on a corner table like they'd gone to get more time and never came back. She stayed there longer than she meant to, maybe 2 hours, maybe more, it was hard to tell, because there were no clocks that worked, no music playing, just the quiet rhythm of a place that didn't care what day it was. When she finally stepped outside again, the city greeted her with a gust of wind and the sound of traffic, and she instinctively checked her phone. It was past 5, somehow, but the strange thing was, she didn't care. She felt calmer, lighter, like that quiet cafe had taken something heavy from her without asking, and she made a note to return the next day, not for the tea, not even for the quiet, but just to be somewhere that let time move the way it wanted. And that night, as she lay in bed with the window cracked open and the sound of distant trains echoing through the city, she wondered if places like that existed everywhere, if maybe every city had one door that led to stillness, and maybe all you had to do was notice it. In today's story, you learned rich, native expressions like, felt like time slowed down, stepped through a doorway, baked time into the air, just be here, half finished on a corner table, and let time move the way it wanted, phrases that help describe not just actions but emotions, places, atmosphere, and mood. You also saw how stories use descriptive verbs, past simple tense, and sensory language to bring English to life, not by translating, but by thinking in scenes and moments that feel true. We upload new videos every day to help you learn real English through real stories, so if this one gave you a feeling you can't quite explain, hit the like button, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to RealSpeak. See you in the next video.